Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Good morning, good evening, good day, wherever you're joining us from. And thanks again for joining us this year on another edition of Outreachy Coffee Chat. And today we have amazing guests with us as usual. And the good thing about today's chat is for everyone, regardless of if you are preparing to apply for the Outreachy program or you are preparing to start contributing to outreach to open source in general, or you are looking for how to enhance your career in open source. So please sit back, and if you're just joining us for the first time, this is the Outreachy Coffee Chats. Outreachy is a paid internship program that provide paid internship opportunities to persons who feel marginalized in the country they are living in to contribute to open source and open science projects. The program is a 3-month program and it runs twice a year. We have the May cohort and we also have the December cohort. And good news, the May 2024 cohort application is starting for interns, is starting in a few days. So watch out for that. Okay, so let's go back to today's discussion. Today, we are going to be discussing setting your career through open source. So regardless of whatever space you are, whatever background you have, or whatever level you are in your career life, this chat is important for you. And we have past outreachy interns, we have outreachy mentors, who are going to be joining us as guests today, and they are going to be sharing what they know. They are going to be sharing their experiences, and also they are going to be answering any questions that you might have. So let's get started. I'm going to be inviting our guests, and you're going to be seeing their beautiful faces. Awesome, awesome. So we have our guests here. So before I go into having our guests to introduce themselves one after the other, let me start with my introduction because it's New Year, right? I shouldn't forget to introduce myself this time around. So I'm Omotola Eunice Omotayo. I'm really happy to have everyone here. I'm the community manager at Outreachy, and I'm also one of the Outreachy program organizers. And I'm going to pass the mic to Busayo, and Busayo will pass to Onyinye. Then we go on to Zia and Paul. Okay, so let's start with Busayo. Hi, Busayo. Thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
Hi everyone, I'm Busayo Ojo. Thank you, Motala, for having me. I'm an ex-Outreachy intern, and I'm currently an Outreachy mentor and a programs manager at Opia. So, Onyinye could go next.
Thanks, Busayo. Hi, everyone. Good evening from Nigeria, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Onyinyechi Onifade, and I am currently the Technical Community Program Manager at Wikimedia Foundation and also the outreach organizer for the foundation. I'm passing to Shriya.
Hi everyone, I'm Shriya Tarcar. I'm from Goa, India. I'm a computer science engineer and I'm the outreach intern for this cohort at Wikimedia Foundation. Passing on to Paul.
Hello everyone, my name is Paul. I'm an ex-intern, Outreach intern, and currently I work as a front-end engineer at Workleo. So nice to meet you. Let's get started.
Okay, awesome. So you can see that this year is really awesome because we have past outreach interns, we have mentors, we have engineers in the house. So we have, if you can see from Paul's name, awesome, we have our names. Okay, so I can see our name being displayed now. Okay, awesome. All right, so you can see Paul is a designer. Then we have Shriya, who is also an engineer. We have our technical person also, Onyinye. We have Busayo as well. They are going to be going in depth later, maybe during the course of answering the questions I have set, into explaining how they are contributing to open source and open science projects in their own way and telling you more about themselves. So let's go back to the topic, which is setting your career through open source. I want to like hear from our audience. Where are you joining us from today? Happy New Year. How are you doing? And I also want to know which career level you are now in open source. So let's use this format. You introduce yourself, tell us where you're joining us from, and tell us if you're a beginner in open source contribution, or you're on the intermediate level or expert level. This is very important because it will help our guests to know how to like fine tune or answer the questions that we are going to be asking. They want to be able to like answer question in the way everybody that is joining us will understand. And also to our guests, please take note that this video is being recorded and will be on our YouTube channel and also on our PeerTube channel later, so our audience can come back at their own convenience and watch the video. So let's get started. I have some questions that I am going to be passing around, and I'm going to be calling on some persons to answer some specific questions, right? And if you want to, if any other guests want to like add one or two things to the question, please feel free to also do that. So the first question is, what is open source? A lot of persons have heard there's space for you in open source contribution, open source, open source, open source. What exactly is open source? And I'm going to pass this question to Onyinye.
Call me first. Okay. Let me start by saying there is space for you in open source, so don't let anybody tell you different. Right? Everyone is welcome. That's why it's called open source. It's open to all. Generally, what open source to me means is a kind of software or a place that allows you to like contribute freely. The code is accessible to everyone. You can view, modify, share, and even modify the source code or anything that you see on the open source software. The design, the code, everything is open for you to modify and work on. What I like the open source software community or ecosystem is that it promotes a collaborative and co-creative kind of spirit. So everyone is welcome. Please come in, come and work with us, come and collaborate, come and work on projects, come and make mistakes. Yeah, it's open. Just come in, do your best, and definitely everyone will be here to support you.
Awesome, awesome. So I love the way you answer the question, especially stating the fact that this ecosystem is open to everyone, regardless of the fact that maybe you feel you're not an expert yet, or you're not even sure of what you do. The space is open for you to learn. So I think Oye has done like a good justice to explaining how what open source is from like a contributor's perspective, and I need any of our guests to explain it from a user's perspective. Open source project, so you can use your project as a case study, just as people want to know, I'm contributing to open source, who are using open source and why are they using open source, why is it called open source? So I'm going to make this open and any of the guests can maybe unmute and answer the question.
Yeah, so I would like to go. So like the name says, open, right? It's all open. Initially, I thought open source contribution is only about contributing your code, but it's wide. Um, you can raise issues on a project. That's a contribution. You can use a project and give your feedback. That's a contribution. You can make your own project, make it available. That's a contribution. Recently, I was working with VitPress, and I was looking to, if you've used VictPress before, it's kind of a hassle writing out code for your sidebar. So I was looking for any open source project that can automate this for me, and I found one, but it wasn't working perfectly. And then I tried to use it, see what was wrong, and then I reached out to the author on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh, I was trying to use your project, and this is what's happening. This is what is happening." And we had a few back and forth conversation, and he fixed it. That's a contribution. I didn't have to write any code or use my computer to do anything. I just communicated, and that was a contribution. So open source generally is um, basically anything you can do to improve the project, right? And these are usually governed by some kind of licensing. So the license can tell you whether or not you can do this or that. You get, and so yeah, it's open that you can use it, but the license makes it a bit constrained on how you can use it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Paul. And the next question is actually going to be for all our guests. I'm going to start with Shriya, and then we'll go to Busayo. So Busayo and Shriya, I want to our audience want to know the different career paths that are available in open source. So let me like give more details. Hi, let's assume I don't come from a tech background, and now you just mentioned open source is open to everyone. But I studied like a non-technical role in school. How can I come in? So when you give this explanation, feel free to like share different career paths that are available and who can even come in. From what career can you come in from?
Sure. Okay, so in open source, career paths can include software development, system administration, then quality assurance. This is of the tech background. But as you said, regarding the non-technical background, I think one can, very well contribute into the documentation of a project or even into community management. So I think this, like the diverse projects, they allow like open source contributors to specialize in areas which are technical as well as non-technical. Like you can contribute in any area: cyber security, data science, devops. And especially in outreachy, as an outreachy intern, during the contribution phase, I found out that there can be various methods to contribute to open source. Make your career path in open source. Like currently I'm working on a project where I am contributing to open source by making surveys, by researching. So I think it's as I would like to break the myth that open source is only for technical background. It's also for non-technical background. You can contribute by doing documentation, computer graphics, designing, and many more things. So yeah, that's my take.
Okay, thanks, Shreya. I think I'll be really good to speak on this because most of the work I've done in open source has been from a non-technical background. So I contributed to Outreachy, or I participated in Outreachy last year, and I contributed as a user researcher to the OPIA project. So basically, what we had to do was conduct user research with students, create some designs, have great communication skills, know how to write reports well, and translate these reports into what can help them better improve the OPIA Android app. So and afterwards, like I have still been able to contribute even in more non-technical aspects. For example, I helped out in planning an open source event for a community. So that's other ways where a non-technical person could contribute. There's also technical writing, documentation, as Shreya mentioned, taking out surveys. So all these are simple ways you can get into open source contributions. It's not all the time that you have to be a developer or somebody that's an expert. Even just little things can get you into a community and help you participate actively.
Awesome, awesome. So before I go back to Paul and Onyinye, Omotala is a community manager, and Omotala is actively contributing to open source. Busayo just mentioned the different paths that she has been using, the different contributions she has been making to this ecosystem. So now let's go back to design. We have a lot of designers who have asked questions about there is no design, or designers cannot contribute to open source. And now Paul is here to tell you, no, that's not true. Paul, what do you think about career paths in open source, especially from a designer perspective?
Okay. First of all, I want to just try to correct something. So I started off my career as a designer, and at that time, I was building my brand around what I do. So that's why you see the name Narrow Designs. So Narrow is my middle name. Designs was what I do. But now I'm very much focused on front end development. However, I still have an answer to that. So I worked with Public Lab during my internship at Outreachy, and one of the things that I focused on was the UI. So the UI was, very basic. The UX was not great, and so even as an engineer, because I had um, design skills, I knew where to come in. I knew that this input field had a wrong validation process, or this was not looking so nice. So as a designer, yes, you can contribute to open source projects. Like I said, it's open. The first step is trying to use the product. As a designer, when you try to use the product, or there's usually a guideline for how you can set the project up or how you can visualize the tool. And so as a designer, you can begin to spot where there are problems, and you can reach out to say, oh, this form is broken or is bad or doesn't look well, or this could be a better design. And if all things go well, you don't necessarily have to um, push your design, because engineers are used to pushing code. You make code contributions and then you push them, but you don't have to like push your design, but you can submit your design to whoever is maintaining the project or who's in charge, and then see how that can get implemented and then pass to whoever engineer is going to work on it. So as a designer, yes, you're very, very much welcome to contribute to open source. Lastly, you can also so I've seen open source projects that are basically icons. I don't know if we have designers here or engineers, you would have seen something like that. There are projects that are mostly icons. These icons are not written by programmers; they are designed by designers, and they are open source. So as a designer, you can actually design icons and SVG images or illustrations. So yeah, everybody's welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much for explaining that, Paul. Okay, so let's move to Onyinye now. Onyinye is a program manager, a technical program manager. So Onyinye, tell us more about, especially your career in open source.
So I actually come from a business background. In university, I read business admin, so I'm not even technical from like the get go. So what I think the first thing I did to myself was just to clear a misconception. You don't have to contribute to code. For a long time, that's my mantra. You don't have to contribute to code because I see many people going to learn software development, going to learn so on and so on. You don't have to contribute to code. What I like, what open source does for me that I like is that open source helps you to think that what am I good at? So for me, I'm very good at writing. I started my first contribution writing, I think a mailing list for a friend's project, right? Emails, newsletters, right? And what am I doing? I'm contributing. You don't have to code. Everybody just thinks, oh, let me go and drop a code here. Let me do this here. No. Ask yourself, what are you good at? Are you good at writing? Are you good at organizing meetups? Are you good at organizing workshops for a project? Then play to your strengths, because when you play on your strengths, you last longer in the open source ecosystem. But when you do what everyone is doing, you might fade out faster. So ask yourself, what am I good at? Am I good at coding? Please go and code. Am I good at writing? Write. Am I good at event management? Organize event, because the person who codes can't do it all. So when it's broken down, the ecosystem is thriving. So pick something that you can do. It may not be popular, it may not be fancy. I mean, writing mail is not fancy. Who wants to write mails, right? But when you think about it in that way, you are contributing something bigger than yourself. So play to your strength and keep at it, and you'll definitely be something.
Awesome. And I think Oye just triggered something that I have in me, but I didn't think of like mentioning right now. And this is for persons who are probably setting their 2024 career goals, and you're not sure the skills or the passion you have right now is something you can bring into the open source ecosystem. So this is me telling you, yes, you can bring it. And to also add to what Oye has said, because Oye already explained that, I was speaking to a friend few days ago, and this friend is actually a very good video editor. And while the friend was working on some project, I said, "Do you know open source? Like open source community actually need this your skills?" And he was like, "But I can't code." You can actually contribute to open source the way you are with the skills you have right now. And I love what Onyinye said about Don't focus on what everybody is doing. Ask yourself, where can I come in? What can I do? What am I passionate about? Is it organizing meetings? Is it reviewing documents? Is it enhancing documentation? Is it design? Just like Paul mentioned, is it this icon that you think you can beautify even more? Is it the technical side of things, maybe the coding, or you feel like, oh, I have these programming skills I want to bring in? Like, ask yourself, what can I do? What passion do I have that I can bring in? So I think the first case is settled about knowing how you personally can come into open source, knowing how you can come into open source. So the next question then that the audience might have will be, so where can I find where to contribute to? I mean, where can I find projects to contribute to? Where can I find communities where I can bring what I already know to start using that to impact the project? So I'm going to start with who should I start with? I'm going to start with Busayo. Okay, Paul. Paul wants to go first. Okay, after Paul, then feel free to go. And any other person can feel free to go. So we want to know, for someone who now understand that, oh, I have to think about myself. What can I bring in? What value do I have to bring in? It doesn't have to be big. So where can such person find projects or community to belong to?
Okay. For the longest time, GitHub has been like very dominant. Sorry. So GitHub has been very dominant with lots and lots of projects that you can contribute to and work on. So you can basically start from the search bar, right? And just write whatever you do. If you are a Vue.js engineer, just write Vue.js and you will see thousands of results on Vue.js projects you can contribute on. If you work with Python or Rust or Golang, whatever it is, go there, put it in, and you see results that exhaustive results basically that you can pick from. And for communities, so here's how you can find communities. You can go to Twitter or X now and basically search for. I did this last night, and just basically search for open source, and you will see both users that are into open source or communities that are into open source, like Oscar, like Outreachy as well. And so you can click on those threads or posts, and you see list of comments that can one way lead you to a community you can join. That's one. Two, you can try to attend events and meet up with people, network and ask them, oh, I'm into open source, do you know any communities I can be a part of and I can contribute to? And people will basically point you in the right direction. So like myself, I got to hear about Outreachy from a friend. So I was in one Oscar event, and then I heard somebody saying Outreachy open source contribution. I was like, What is that?" And so I introduced myself and joined them. And today I'm an ex-intern, right? So yeah, those are like the ways you can go about it.
Okay, very similar to Paul. I knew about open source through a friend, but what exposed me to more communities was, on the Outreachy dashboard or on the Outreachy website, there's a column for past communities. So if you're very confused, you don't know where to turn to, you can just go there. They have like tons of communities that have participated in Outreachy. So you can just go through these communities, check which of them do I think I can contribute with, which of them have like active communities that people they accept newcomers, and just try to find something you'd enjoy doing. As Onyinye said, try to play to your strengths, and in no time you'd find a community that you'd love and you'd enjoy contributing to.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul and Busayo, for sharing. I can see you here what as well. You want to share?
I wanted to just add that there are companies that might be using open source software. For example, Wikimedia Foundation. Wikipedia is built with the Media Wiki software, and it's purely open source, believe it or not. And we have like 17 or 18 other projects that run on that same software. Now, companies like this have a vibrant community that maintains this product as they go along. right? We have what we call a developer portal where we welcome people to open source and open source projects. So if you have any company in mind that you know that open source, check them out, check out their website, check their developer portal. They may have many of this, and then you can also join them to kind of like create. But I think the most important thing is be willing to speak up and don't be shy, right? When you go to events, don't go sit down on one side and think open source can meet you there. You have to be in the front, right? Not like so loud, I mean, but ask questions. How can I join this? How did you do this? Where can I go to? Where can I turn to? We don't have it all, but everyone can give you a piece of themselves that can help you along your journey. So speak up, ask questions, and just do your research. You'll find out more.
Awesome. So let me recap everything our guest has mentioned about how to find projects and community. Google is your best friend. You can just type out, doesn't have to be Google. Please use any browser of your choice, any search engine that you're comfortable with, especially open source search engine, right? So you can just type open source project or open source community I can contribute to. Type that out, and you're going to see tons of answers, and you can click read, take your time to read through and go through that. Another way you can get projects and communities, learn more about communities, is to start from your local communities. Go meet a friend, ask a colleague, tell them about what you're interested in, tell them what you inspire to like do, and you will see that a lot of people that are even close to you knows a lot about these projects and communities. And when you ask them, they'll be able to like point you to one or two things. Busayo and Paul mentioned that they heard about Outreachy internship program that support and have a lot of open source and open science communities and projects, right, from a friend. Attend events. When you attend events, you have to like talk to someone about what you are passionate about, what you can do now, the skills you already have, and tell them you're looking for open source and open science project that you can contribute to. Another very good way to get open source and open to get community and projects to contribute to is on any social media platforms that you belong to. You will see advocates for programs like open source program and open science programs like Outreachy. And that is why Outreachy used to encourage everyone, especially everyone who one way or the other have benefited or passed through the program, to be an advocate for the Outreachy program. You never can tell where you mention something about Outreachy and someone has been looking for that opportunity, right? So feel free to like advocate for Outreachy, ask questions on any social media platforms that you belong to about what you intend and what you are looking for. Okay, so I think this is like the foundation to what the next question will be. We've talked about how you can know your value, the value you bring into open source, where you can find open source communities and even projects. Now, the next question will be, why do I have to contribute to open source? What are the benefits of contributing to open source to my own career? I know a lot of persons will be asking themselves that question, like, so I have to contribute to open source. You are sharing links to open source projects, open source communities. Or you talk about Wikimedia own. Paul and Busayo mentioned something about talking to a friend about it. Why should I choose open source? Especially, what are the benefits to my career? So, Shriya, I'm going to let you answer this.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I think participating in the open source has like numerous benefits. First, and the most important one being skill development. So I think whichever field you contribute in, it will only and only add to your skills. It will make you better, in applying those to real world, and it will expose you to like real world projects, not only like based on tutorials, but yeah, what is happening, how is your work, reaching people globally or making a significant value in the world. And next of them being networking opportunities. This is also a very important benefit, because I think today's world it's very important to network in terms of, it has lot of benefits. So as far as I'm concerned, I met like so many new people during my outreachy contribution phase. Still, like the outreachy interns, the mentors, and that community, that thing which I got is, I thought it was very beneficial for me, because I got to know different mindsets, not only in my field but also different field. So I think networking lets you, grow professionally as well as personally. and also you contribute to like a global community. And of course, whatever contribution you do, you can always add it to your resume, your CV, so that will highlight that okay, this person had done some practical experience too. He or she has not only done courses, okay, they have contributed, they have used these skills. And also collaboration skills, this is very important, because as far as coding is concerned, you have like raised PRs, then merged, then peer review. So this is like a very long process. So I think in this you get this feeling, okay, I'm a part of this community. A lot of skills of collaboration get in. And also in non-code, you get to know that okay, if I've done like some changes in the documentation, then the reviewer comes in, you communicate with them. So I think this is like a very good experience for especially someone who is starting in their career, because I was a shy person before contributing to open source, but then I got that confidence that okay, people are there, that they support you, they collaborate with you. So yeah, these are the benefits of open source, and that's why you should contribute to it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing um the interpersonal skills that you learned through Outreachy. And I think this is like a one success story we've gotten a lot from Outreachy interns of how they joined the internship, and they were not like the very vocal person, or they were not sure they have some even set some soft skills that during the contribution stage they were able to like know they really have. So I'll pass the mic to Onyinye to like tell us what are the benefits of contributing to open source.
I think Shriya has already mentioned everything or most of it. But one thing I may want to add would just be it helps you to better understand how to take feedback, right? Because the community is big, everybody's giving you feedback. At the point, you'll be like, really, do I really need this? But when you take feedback constructively, you're able to look at yourself, and in that process, you're making yourself better. And that is a very big skill, even in the workplace, even in the corporate environment. You need to know how to take feedback and implement feedback. So when you go to open source communities to contribute, and put one or two things out there, and people are like, this is cool, this is cool. You can do this better, you can add this, you can put this here. Feedback, learning how to take feedback in and implement feedback that open source gives you. Adding to everything that Shreya has said, but yeah, that's my own take on that.
Okay, awesome. Now that is like a very good and smart response from a mentor's perspective. Oye has shared, because Oye has worked with a lot of applicants, of course, a lot of applicants, and one special skills that you need to have that goes beyond internships, right, is taking feedbacks. Even when you work like in full time in any workspace, you should be able to like take feedback and use that to make more informed and smart decision. So let me ask Paul from an Outreachy ex Outreachy intern's perspective, what are the benefits? So I need you to like state the benefits as an Outreachy intern, and even now that you're done with Outreachy, what are some benefits that you think going through this open source internship program has actually helped or added to your career?
Okay. I think I've answered these questions many times, and how I like to start it is, if you remember your first job, then you would probably remember how very nervous you were. I remember mine, and I was always thinking, oh, when are they going to fire me? Because I'm probably not good enough. I don't know if this is fine or this is bad. But with open source, there's like no judgment, right? This is just it's like everybody understands. There's no boss to say, oh, this is messed up, or this thing you did is not cool, it's not right. So that safe space where you come in and feel free to make mistakes and learn and contribute is where open source is really, really cool. So I'll use myself as an example. When I submitted my proposals for Outreachy during my time, I was going to be focusing on the UI, right? That's where my strength is. I'm a designer and developer, so those are where my strength lies. But when I got in, it turned out that we had to fix some tests before I can go on to my contribution. I'd never done anything in testing before. I had zero idea about it. And at the start, I was nervous, but because of the support I had, because I felt free to ask questions, I was able to, learn about Jest and Jasmine and contribute to testing, which were skills I didn't have previously. That safe space is what I really like about open source. So I became after contributing after my Outreachy internship, I became very very confident because what you do in the contribution is basically what you see in the real world. I'm using myself as example now. So when I got into Outreachy, I was good with Git, but not very very good with Git. So I didn't know how to, for example, revert an error that's already been pushed to the remote repo. I did not know this. I learned it during my internship, right? And many other things like collaborating with engineers, reviewing code, like Onyinye said, taking feedback. All of these are basically what you see in the real world today. In my job today, we do all of it. We work with Git, we do code reviews, we receive feedback and make changes. So it's like preparing you for the real deal, right? Because now you're being paid and it's like a serious responsibility and you are held very accountable. But in open source, it's like everybody's trying to push you, make sure that you understand what's going on and all of that. So yeah, that's how I would describe my experience generally. And no,
Awesome.
one last thing, sorry, one last thing. I was going to stress on what Shriya said. If you are a newbie or someone who is new to programming, open source is like your very best bet because your resume is blank right now. It's like an empty slate. So what you have there is probably your education and your projects, but there's no experience, right? With open source, you don't have to apply to be a contributor. It's not a job. You don't get, unfortunately, you can't be a contributor, or unfortunately, you can't contribute to us. It's open, right? So you can easily go in, send a few messages, and say, "Oh, I found these issues." Maybe read the contribution guideline and say, "Oh, I want to do this." And after you've done this, you can safely put this in your resume and say, for example, GitHub open source contributor, which is good because if you have done that for, let's say, 6 months, and that's the thing, it's endless. You get to pick the company, you get to pick the project, and with time, you would see that you've backed experience that you can put on your resume. So one time I had the opportunity to intern with Canonical. They are the makers of Ubuntu, and trust me, I did not feel like I was qualified to be considered by them. But because I have open source experience with Oscar and with Outreachy, I feel like that's why I was seen, right? That's why I was noticed when I applied. So it basically gives you that advantage all in all. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And something that really stood out for me from what Paul just like explained now is the power of community backing the open source ecosystem up. Like everybody is willing to support you, hold your hands, take you through. In fact, like just be there for you whenever you need the help. So, and Paul also mentioned that if you're just starting out in tech, you have not worked on real life projects, open source contribution is the best bet for you. Like you get the chance to work on very big projects that you can claim to yourself. Projects you can say, oh, I work or I built this part of the Wikimedia Foundation project, right? You can boldly say this in your interview, on your CV or whatsoever, which gives like you the person that wants to apply employ you that special interest in you. Oh, this person have done this. That's interesting. Now I want to listen to them. Okay, so that is like a very important part that I need newbies or persons who are just starting out in tech or in open source contribution to take to hold on to. So the next question I'm going to ask, and I'm going to ask Busayo this. Busayo is also going to tell us the benefits of participating in open source program, but from a different perspective. Busayo is an ex-Outreachy intern and now an Outreachy mentor. Awesome, right? So Busayo, please tell us, how can one give back to this ecosystem? Not just giving back, how can you benefit from giving back? How can you grow in the open source ecosystem?
Okay. So I wanted to talk about it, but thank God you've called me up now. So one thing with open source that I really like about open source contribution is honestly, nobody cares about like your background or what you studied or where you're from, right? Everybody's after, okay, what can you do? And one thing I love most about open source contributions is how quickly you can climb up the ladder if you have good contributions. With normal standard offices, there's always the usual office politics, let's be honest. And sometimes it might take time for you to get to where you want to be. But with open source contributions, once you're consistent, once you are showing that, oh, you are really putting in the work, you see that you get more leadership opportunities. So I joined my open source community up here in 2022. So I started off as a user researcher, as I mentioned. Then we needed somebody to lead a translation team. And they reached out to me that would I like to take on this responsibility? And I was like, yes, sure. And I managed that I'm still managing that. Then about 6 months, 7 months after, they came back to reach out to me that, oh, we've been seeing how you've been working. Would you like to lead partnerships in Africa? And honestly, I was shocked because I was like, okay, this is like a big responsibility. And I felt like there were other people, but that is the thing with open source contribution. Once you're consistent, once people are noticing, that's one thing I want everyone to keep in mind. People are looking at the work you're putting out, people are seeing what you're doing. And if you keep at it, you would definitely get benefits and you also would benefit from that contribution. Because what helped me get my current job is, let's not lie, open source contribution, because that's mostly what I have on my CV. And my company were like, what is this open source everywhere? And when I was explaining, it sounded interesting to them. And that is one of the things that I know helped me get that job. So, yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So before I go back to Paul, I'm coming back to you. It is very important and I think good for the benefits of those persons that are on this call and those persons that are going to be watching this video later to let Onyinye speak on this subject matter. Onyinye is also working from Wikimedia Foundation. So Onyinye, what would you say, especially someone coming from, from a business background? What would you say are the benefits of contributing or giving back to the ecosystem, the open source ecosystem?
So many benefits, right? And I think everyone has already touched on it. And like Busayo said, skill enhancement, she's open to learning. Shriya mentioned resume building and so many other things. But I think one of the things that stands out for me is in the community that I work on, I see continuous learning. Nobody knows it all. And everyone is constantly learning every day. The more you contribute, the more you learn. You can learn from a newcomer, you can learn from an advanced person in the ecosystem. But the thing is, if you are open to learning, open source gives you that ability to always have something to do and learn from. I think one other thing that you can do to give back and to grow in the ecosystem is contributions. Honestly, contribute regularly. And like everyone has said, you don't have to code. Contribute to what you are good at. And from there, like Busayo said, the opportunity for growth is exponential. You don't have to stay in one spot for a very long time. Keep contributing and keep growing. Continue to, I think one thing that helps me is I keep measuring my success. So I keep looking back and saying, I started from here and I'm here now. What have I done? What is like a plus for me and a minus for me? And if you do that evaluation, you're able to take out things that you don't need to focus in on and then focus on what really is important to you and can help you grow. So keep contributing. Another thing is organize events. You don't have to attend events only. You can organize events in your area, something small for those in your maybe in the same gender or in the same age group or in the same class or university as you are. Something that everybody can do together, form a group project, and then you all can work on it. It helps community building. You're also contributing to other people that join the open source ecosystems. Also, you can also share your knowledge, right? Go online, social media, on Twitter. Oh, I did this today. I saw somebody today that commented that his pull request got approved or something, and he tagged Outreachy and he tagged Mozilla and a couple of people. Celebrate. Go online and say, I did my first contribution today. Oh, ring a bell. People see what you are doing. People acknowledge your contributions, right? And the more you do this, the more you are keeping them accountable to keep growing in the ecosystem. In open source, let's not lie, it's very easy to fade away. or be stagnant because nobody's monitoring you. It's not like in school that they're like, give me your report card. Here, nobody cares. I mean, we care, but nobody's monitoring, like, oh, give me your score sheet. What did you do last month? No, you have to be accountable for yourself. So keep doing these things, be steady, go online and post. Oh, my first pull request got approved, though everybody can celebrate with me. And we're there with virtual cake and dancing for you because it got approved, right? Keep building yourself, and by so doing, you are definitely going to make a mark in the ecosystem and continue growing.
Awesome. I think Busaya and Oye already like said everything. And also from what Oye said, like that is one thing about the Outreachy internship. Like we want you to look back at where you started your journey, even look at the challenges you faced on the journey and look at where you are right now. And that is why we encourage like all interns to blog about their experience, write about your experience, introduce yourself, let the world know that yes, I'm in the open source ecosystem and I'm here to grow and also make an impact to this project. If you are struggling, that's why our second blog post blog topic is about the everybody struggles. Yes, we acknowledge that the journey is not that smooth. Sometimes you find it difficult to like finish maybe a task on time, or even you have a lot of things to catch up on or to read at your own space. Just like you said, nobody's forcing you, but we want you to grow, right? So talk about it. Sometimes it's not about even just celebrating the win. The community is there to like read your blog post about how you struggle and also like inspire you or motivate you with their own story. Someone will tell you, oh, during the contribution stage, it was not easy, but I gave it my all. Somebody shared today that is somebody shared today that their pull request was merged, and it's like the most interesting and fulfilling pull request that they've ever made through Outreachy. Those are the things. And I see a lot of people celebrating with them. The fact that people are celebrating with you, you feel like, oh, what have I done? I've done this thing, so I can do this thing. It makes you believe in yourself even more, right? So those are the benefits. But I'm going to ask Paul that same question but in another format. So Paul is going to like tell us, sorry. So Paul is going to tell us, especially from a first-time contributor's perspective. Then I know that was then you are no more a first-time contributors, but there are lots of persons who are just coming to open source for the first time, especially with this insightful section that we are having. A lot of persons are still going to like come in contact with this video and go listen to it and get inspired. But a first-time contributors who is kind of still scared, who is not sure of what to do, but they've gained insights, right? But what would you tell like a first-time contributor?
Okay. Yeah. So one thing I can say is, um, at the first time, it's heavily overwhelming because you don't know where to start from, especially as a developer. So you're seeing probably 10,000 lines of code. You're seeing lots and lots of files. You're lost. Where is this? What is this? What's happening? Oh, this JavaScript code looks different from the JavaScript I know. What's happening here? So you're very, very, very lost. And one thing I would say is it's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's very okay. It's not because you are not competent. It's not because you don't know anything. It is normal, perfectly normal to be overwhelmed. So what I would say is be patient with yourself, right? Be very patient with yourself. And communities like Outreachy makes this even easier because in this case you're now paired to um, a community that guides you when you're contributing to the project. So um there's this thing that happens in open source. I've experienced it before. I saw something I wanted to work on. I was really confused, but I saw a conversation between two people that worked on similar things, and so I tagged somebody from there, and then I got no response, and I was like, oh, maybe they don't want me or they don't want external people. So you get all of those feelings, and I just want to say that it's normal, right? It's okay to have delayed response, to be overwhelmed. So just be patient with yourself generally. Be very patient with yourself and with the community. Is from the project side, it's not easy managing a project. I believe it's not easy maintaining a project. There are projects that are very large. For example, Babel is very, very large, and so you can imagine what the maintainers go through every time to review code, to reach out to people, to reply to messages concerning issues. So I'll say be very patient, and then look for communities like Outreachy or other communities you can find, because then it's easier to find someone you can reach out to and say, oh, I'm looking for this file, or I've been searching for this file in the code base and I cannot find it, or I've been trying to install this package and it's not working. What do I need to do? What do I need to, how do I go about this, right? And you can see it's a lot easier than doing it on your own. So if you start up now and just pick up your computer and go straight to GitHub, look for a project and try to contribute, it's very, very, very overwhelming compared to when you're working closely with a community or in a program like Outreach.
Thank you so much, Paul. And Shriya, in few sentences, what will you tell a first-time contributor?
Yeah, the first thing I would like to tell is start small. So start with there are some good first issues. So start with them to first familiarize yourself so that it's not like overwhelming. Also read documentation. I think it's very important. Sometimes we just ignore it and start, understanding the code base. But I think it's important to read the documentation, and very very important is please ask questions. I think every open source community is like available and is very supportive, especially those in Outreachy, like whichever channel I had joined, like Slack, Zulip, or Discord, any channel. I think they've been very supportive to newcomers. So ask as many questions as you want, to get familiar, and seek feedback for your work. And I think Paul is right as far as patience and persistence is concerned, especially in the open source journey, because it's like a learning process. So, yeah, be patient. So, that's what I want to tell.
Awesome. Okay, let me go back to Onye. Onye, what would you like to tell a first-time contributor?
I'd like to say, first of all, welcome to the open source party. You are not
Yeah.
late. Nobody's late. Nobody's late. Yeah, welcome. Find something that you like to do and keep growing at it. You will definitely be better than you were when you came in. There's no pressure, there's no rush, but keep yourself accountable and continue working. And everything that Shriya said also, add that together and you're a star.
And you are Esther. Thank you so much. Okay, so the last question, because we have like few minutes to go, I will direct that to Bless Busayo. Okay, so Busayo, some folks are still not sure why they should give back to the ecosystem, especially the fact that so I'm going to use Outreachy for example. Outreachy Mentoring Community application and call for mentors will be out today because we are already preparing for the May 2024 internship course. And we are seeking and calling on people who have experience contributing to open source to join a community, propose a project that our interns, our applicants can contribute to. So the application starts today, and that is for persons who are not sure. The application for mentoring communities and mentors starts today. So from a mentor's perspective, Busayo, why? So the question is, why should someone apply to be a mentor in Outreachy from your experience? What are the benefits?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So, personally, why I applied. I know how I felt when I joined in and when I started contributing to open source or to my organization. And I know how overwhelming it can be, but being able to hold someone's hands, guide them through like that entire process of, okay, from getting into the community and watch them grow for that, it's something I really, really enjoy. So it's like a good way for you to help the interns out, so help people out to get them started. And one thing is that they would always appreciate you for it. I've gotten like messages from my interns that are like, oh, thank you for this, thank you for that. So they would always feel that gratitude towards you. And it's also a way to Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, sorry. So, and I feel like it's also a good way to get more people into the open source space. Let me just stop my camera. I think I'm lagging. So it's also a good way to get people into the open source space and to just help them build their career going forward in open source. Personally, I'm always grateful to my mentors. I'm still in close contact with them, and it's a really nice feeling. So please, if you Shriya, that's to you. When you're done with Outreachy, you can still apply to be a mentor. I'm sure you definitely enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Busayo, for sharing that. Shriya is actually very interested in giving back to. I remember I had a conversation with them a few days ago, and they mentioned they are interested in giving back to the ecosystem. Okay, so the final question, and we are going to round up because Onyinye is here. Onyinye is a mentor as well, leading projects from the Wikimedia perspective. So Onyinye, quick one, our mentorship program application for mentors is starting today. What would you like to tell our potential mentors, and how would you like to encourage people who have experience to give back to the community?
Um, I just want to say, just do it. Yeah, there's no hard and fast rule to mentorship. Is I feel like being with outreach makes the entire process easier. There's so many guidelines. Monta always sending us emails every week saying this is week one, we're doing this in week one. So there's so much guidance for you to walk through. And then there's also a great community of past and current mentors who are here to support you and give you the needed advice as you go along the way. So please, if you have the time, because I know time commitment of that everybody is considering, if you have the time to mentor and to give back and to train somebody else in the ecosystem, please come forward and work with us. Wikimedia has a couple of projects that will be opening up very soon for the outreach program. So if you see any that's interesting to you, please put forward your project and let us know. We'd like to work with you and anyone else that's in the ecosystem.
Awesome. And that is it for today's coffee chat. Special thanks to our awesome guest for sharing their inspiring experiences with us and answering our questions very well. I can see other Outreachy organizers in the comment as well, answering some questions that we have from the guests. And I think for our audience that are joining us, all the questions that they asked us has been answered online. I can see that. So thank you so much. If you have any questions about mentoring communities or how to mentor, we've shared the link to, and also we're going to attach it to in the description here. We've shared a link to a guideline for mentors, and we're also going to share that application for mentoring communities for the May 2024 course start today. Please, we are calling on all experienced mentors to collaborate in their community, come up with projects that interns can work on. And also for our past communities, you can reach out to the community and suggest topic, or just say you want to contribute to Outreachy projects through their community. So our next chat is actually going to be inviting mentors, mentoring communities, different projects that have been part of Outreachy before, to come and tell their stories, experiences participating in Outreachy, how it has affected their project, and also inspiring people who are not sure of how to get started by mentoring people or coming with their mentoring projects. So watch out for our next chat, which is going to be next week, actually. So that is it. Thank you so much once again, Busayo. Thank you so much, Onyinye. Thank you so much, Shriya, and thank you so much, Paul. You all have been awesome. Thank you so much for inviting us, and apologies for 20 extra minutes. Thank you so much for everyone that joined the live stream. Thank you so much for engaging, and see you some other time. Bye.
Bye.